paranormal is normal, not understood.
Yeah,
Very good.
exactly.
Well said.
All
Everything.
right, and
A good example. Let me just give a good example. Is
sure.
Galileo. Galileo was put on house arrest because he claimed the sun went around the Earth. He was on house arrest the rest of his life for that because that was heresy. Uh, but just to give you an idea, that's something new that they just couldn't handle until later on when the facts came out that no, we do circle the sun, it doesn't circle us. So this is a good example. But everything is vibration and frequency. My theory on how they do what they do is because they're an animal who has adapted to whatever attributes or whatever attributes they've been given by the creator to adapt to the environment. And animals do that. We're the only animal that doesn't. We don't adapt to our environment. Well, we have to make a tent. We have to get a car. We have to build a house. We're the only animal that doesn't. Think about it. Other animals adapt to the environment, whether it's a beaver or a
Well,
moose
and it's
or
funny you should
whatever.
say that. It's funny you should say that, Ron, because I get people ask me all the time, and like I should know, right? But they say, uh, "Are they intelligent, or how intelligent are they?" And you look into that. What is intelligence by definition? And then you get into, you know, what you can't. Today's intelligence is measured by what we call the IQ test or the intelligent quotient test. And by today's standards, most of us wouldn't even get over 80 or 90 in the scoring. But the bottom line is, if you went back even 100, just with humans, you went back 100 years ago, nobody would get over 20, because it's based on academics, it's based on technology, it's based on calculus, it's based on all kinds of things we didn't understand at the time. So the IQ test is constantly being updated and whatnot. But as long as we're so short-sighted as to look at intelligence in those terms, in the terms of technology and academics, we're missing the bigger picture, and that is that intelligence comes in different forms. There's different categories of intelligence, and there's a thing, I term academic intelligence quotient, AIQ, as to what we talk about today as the intelligence quotient, but we don't talk about the primal intelligence quotient. That PIQ is what I've come up with in the bottom line. Who's smarter? So we can look at a culture or a species, if you will, that finds aversion to technology, that wants to remain in a very primal, very feral setting, and is very well adapted to it. And then look at where we're at. And you know what? Here's where I go with that. I say, if God forbid, Korea, China, Russia should implode some sort of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon, over our country and knock out our electrical grid. Ask yourself how many people would still be around in 6 months or a year or even 5 years. Not very many, because unless you're one of these, you got a bug out bag and you're one of these, um,
Survivalist.
what hits the fan kind of people, you're not going to make it. And the truth of the matter is, ask yourself, how will Bigfoot deal with something like that? It would just be another day. It would just be, they don't need this stuff. The biggest impact on a Bigfoot would be whatever happened to all those hairless small versions of us, because we're going to be gone and they're going to be here and they're going to survive. They're going to do what they've done all their lives and survive. So really, who is more intelligent when it comes down to it? Those that can survive on a minimalist, primitive uh, situation, or those of us who have become addicted to technology, you know, so, there you have it. These things are intelligent in their own category, if you will. They will out survive us. They've been here before us. They'll be here after us. I'm pretty sure of that, provided we don't, continue to encroach into their territory, and hopefully they don't get um, captured or discovered on that level. Although don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these romantic people that hopes that the mystery continues just for the sake of the mystery. I just want to make sure that what I consider a very unique, a very exotic, and um, possibly threatened, maybe even endangered species comes out of whatever this world has to offer it, surviving the in light of what we're doing, because they are a special species. They're in terms of a feral, wild lifestyle. They are the top of their species, and I just want to make sure that they survive. Whether we do, get that evidence to determine their place in biology and their place in the our biosphere, because we all have something to contribute.
Well, Todd, you've talked about everything I want to talk about. So yeah, I really we don't have a lot of time left, and you're talking about there's two things I want to talk about: technology, and I mean, come on, I have all these videos that I was going to show, and I'll show them. I'll figure out a way. Either I'll put them in the links in the description, or I'll play them at the end of this podcast on YouTube. There are so many videos with Bigfoot on them that you could say that's a guy in a suit, but I think the evidence is overwhelming. So I use trail cameras, drones. I use all kinds of night equipment when I'm out doing my research. So do you guys, I mean, have we found Bigfoot? Ron, have we found Bigfoot?
You mean you and I?
I mean,
They find us.
Society. I mean, not like does the government admitted, because they're never going to do that. But I mean, we found Bigfoot, correct? Not me, but you have.
Well, they find you. Yeah, if you got the right vibration, they will come. They will communicate with you if they think you got, or well, they will play with you too. At least the ones we encounter play with us. But there's different kinds of these things. I got to say that. They're just like it's like trying to compare a Neanderthal with a Cro-Magnon. There are different types of troglodytes out there, different types of aliens. I've been here messing with the genome of different species. I think these things, whatever it was we dealt with up there, and some people deal with today even, they can reach the frequency they need to reach, which through their very advanced vocal mechanism, they can reach the frequency to change their energy, their matter into energy. And actually, any sound at the 49th octave will turn into light. So there's a lot of things that people just need to understand and know. And we talk about frequency. Our light's frequency is 430 to 770 terahertz. That's the frequency of light. You turn the lights out, you don't see anything. Everything is just a reflection of what light gives us, which is what gets in the wave function and all that stuff. So there's a lot to know, and I just encourage anybody who wants to stay into this thing and look into it is to open your minds in your book. There's a lot of history about giants. There's a lot of history about a lot of things that fit into this. It's not just one little thing. There's no natural or unnatural phenomenon. Only big gaps in our understanding, and that's what we have to close. And that's Edgar Mitchell said that.
Yeah. Well, I think that based on what you've done, what Todd has done, what Rich has done, that the majority of the people who will listen or hear about this podcast will go, okay, yeah, that's probably right. That sounds correct. Nobody's going to say, oh, you're a bunch of liars. You're a bunch of charlatans. I don't want to say you're from a certain party, but people, a long time ago might just, dismiss you as just liars or nuts or whatever. But the fact that, 90% of the people who hear this will go, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ron's done a lot of great work. His quantum Bigfoot book. I mean, you sold, I don't know how many copies of that. So it's pretty accepted in society that these things exist. So I would say that, yeah, we've already proven Bigfoot exists, and now we're just really trying to work out the details. Right? Is that correct? We're just trying to get the details for ourselves.
Pretty good summation. Yeah, I would say so. And the film, like I say, the film that we're doing now, the production company will be out this spring, and that should put anybody that's got their doubts over the edge. They'll know. But I think there's going to be a lot exposed by the government and by Bigfoot, by aliens. All that stuff's going to happen this year. This is a big year. Year of the horse. And it's a big unveiling. A lot of things are going to be unveiled this year.
Well, I would take exception to what you said, Matthew, and no offense, but I mean, when you say we've already proven they exist, I mean, if you were to take a vote today, let's be realistic. Let's be honest. I think you might find 10% of the society would say without a doubt they exist. I think you might find another 15% that say I believe in the possibility that they exist, but that leaves 75% who are still out there that say they don't exist, and I can say that because I put myself in that category. I was there until I had no choice in the matter, but we have a lot of work ahead of us in terms of proving they exist, and that's one of the things that I've been trying to do through the American Primate Conservancy is to get enough evidence together to get institutional mainstream science to take the bait at least, and at least be willing to look into that possibility. And it's sad that in this day and age that most people in the scientific realm, they are more focused on let's just say follow the money. It's a matter of pragmatism. It's a matter of commercialism. It's a matter of is there some sort of monetary reward for in what they do, and going back a long ways, even back, you could look at Darwin, you could look at Linnaeus, and like Ron said, Galileo. There were some risks involved in trying to step outside the box and say, I realize this is not a popular concept, but I think there's a possibility that, even Einstein blew everybody's mind with all the different theories that he came up with. And so it takes a special individual, and the list is not really long, and I can drop names all day long, but
actually, no, let's do a picture
we've lost several this year. And in the last several years, scientists, academician, professors, PhDs, scientists that were willing to take that risk. But I don't think we're there yet, to be honest with you, Matthew. I don't think we're there where you can make such a claim that most people are on board about this. It's, maybe most people watch your show are, but I mean, if you took a vote just out there in mainstream society, I doubt that even 75% of people would raise their hand and say, I believe undoubtedly that these things exist, and that's our challenge. That's the challenge that you and me and Rich and Ron and many others in this field have to take on.
From the day we're born, we're conditioned. Our brain is conditioned to believe certain things, and we're conditioned all our life. Our brain only knows what we teach it and what it's been taught. And really, that's the trouble you got with everybody. Is they've been taught, no, if it existed, the government would tell us, right? Well, I had a cousin who loved me with her heart, but she couldn't believe these things could exist, or the government would have told us by now. Well, that's kind of ridiculous. Government don't tell you what they don't want you to, what they don't understand. And it just conditioning is everything. Let's hold on to that. Academia's got their parameters; they have to stay within that. So I understand that. I learned that from Jeff Meldrum. He's within his within his parameters of having to stay within science, and that affects everything they do with their colleagues and with the tenure, with the funding, everything. So I understand where science comes from, and you're right, Todd. We're not there yet, and I agree with you. The majority of people are not going to go with it because they have not been conditioned to believe something like that is possible. They still trust our government, but that's becoming weaker and weaker and thinner. We will see through the veil this year, I believe, though.
And I need to point out here that Mr. Germeau has said very little all night long, and so I think we need to open the floor to Rich.
Come on,
I want to
Rich,
hear what
don't
Rich
be
has
shy.
to say. Come on, Rich.
So, okay, on this topic, discovered, yes, it's been discovered. Disclosed and acknowledged, no. Right. And I'll lead in this like what Ron said. Are we going to learn a lot of new things probably this year? Well, that's probably true. We probably are going to learn a lot. We're probably going to learn that a lot of the things that we thought we knew, what we had been indoctrinated with, what we've been told, are probably false. Because right now we are transitioning into a whole new world, really, where everything is changing, and all you really have to do is pay attention to look and see that we're moving from one control structure to another control structure where you've had one system in place for several hundred years, maybe longer. It's really a banking system that, and religion and all these different aspects of it that have all been controlled under one entity, and they also have had control of history, right? And all the things that we have been taught and all the things that we think we know. And so you have this system collapsing and this entity collapsing right now, and we're moving to a more like what you would call as a trilateral control structure now, where you're going to have three superpowers that control the world instead of one system. Right. And you're clearly seeing that unfold. And during that process, you're going to see a lot of things change, right? Because you've had one dominant structure in place for so long, and that structure is kind of going away. So the people are going to be apprised of a lot of information and a lot of things that have been kept from them, right? Where you're going to see humanity, be freed in multiple different ways, right? Yeah. Where you're going to see a decentralization occur. Right, and we're actually
like the Epstein files.
Yeah, but I just am I'm afraid, like the Epstein files, that they haven't released this information about UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, because they haven't figured out a way to use it for their own power. So I agree with you, Rich.
Well, let me put it this way:
a way to use it.
So you have
go ahead.
You have a banking system, right? And you have the bank. Right, the bank is all-encompassing, the central banking cartel, right? They run the whole world. They're the ones who issue the money. They own the game board. They own the fake money. They own all the pieces to the game, and they own all the players to the game, right? So they also control all the information, right? They control all the different disciplines: science, religion, right? Economics, history, all of these different things, right? And they teach you through an educational system, and they preload you with all the basic information that you're supposed to know as a human being, right? But they're the ones who dictate the information to you, right? Well, that animal, that control is collapsing, right? So now there's a vacuum of power that has opened, that's already been refilled, and you've seen this all work out where Russia earned a seat at the table because they defeated NATO in Europe, right? They bankrupted Europe. So they proved that they're eligible to be one of these powers in this level, even though they're smaller, but they're a powerful military entity. China is huge, right? It has a huge military, has a huge span of influence historically and even now. And the United States has what it has. So you're going to see it split up to where you have three different leaders essentially that control economically and through policy three different major districts on the earth, where we have the Western Hemisphere, most of South America, all the way to Greenland. Russia has the northern part, Europe, part of the Middle East, Africa, North Africa, and China takes the rest of that chunk, right? And it looks like, to avoid, total destruction and conflict, that these are the terms of the agreement. And you're seeing it play out right now with the Monroe Doctrine or Donroe Doctrine that's playing out with Trump in Venezuela and Greenland. So Canada and all this stuff. So this is all happening underneath of our noses while we are watching.
How does Bigfoot fit into this?
Yeah, well, that's my question: is who gets Bigfoot? So,
that's one of these things.
Anyway, Rich, I appreciate all that, but I really would like to stay focused on Bigfoot and how how that relates to our lives and all that other stuff.
It directly relates to Bigfoot. It directly relates on it because the structure that denies the information, that denies the disclosure, is the structure that's falling.
Yeah. Well, I think we could all agree on that.
If I could say something about that, because I've heard this since the beginning of time when I've had my encounter and had to involve myself in the Bigfoot community. There's always this conspiratorial wing, if you will, of the of the Bigfoot thing, and and of course it bleeds over into the UFOs and all that. But let's play that card out a little bit without getting too political. Let's just say governmental in this term of what you have to do is kind of empathize, if you will, with the government agencies that exist. All right. So within the Department of the Interior, which is in control of the Fish and Wildlife, right, and the Forestry Department, as well as a number of other different entities within the government. Because this was something I had to really try to wrap my head around with when I had my encounter and had to wonder where to go or who I could go to with this information. But be as it may, if you put yourself in the shoes of the Secretary of the Department of the Interior, if you will, okay, so, and you can tie this into the whole UFO UAP scenario if you want, but I want to keep this distinctly separate. Imagine that you have a very binary situation, and that is provided. Let's go on the assumption that the government knows that Bigfoot exists, that this species is in fact a viable species that lives among us, albeit very remotely, and wants nothing to do with the assimilating with modern humans. Let's just assume that's a fact, okay? Let's just take that as it is. On this side of the scale, again, a scale, okay, you have a decision to make. That decision is very binary. You have a switch to flip. One is you hit button A, and that is the full disclosure of the government's understanding, whatever documentation, data, whatever they have on these creatures. And I won't accept the fact they don't. Because I have, if you saw my desk right now, you'd like you wouldn't even know where to begin. Todd Neiss, has decades. Literally, if you wanted to connect it, and Ron would be in the same boat. We have, collectively decades of research and data that's for the most part undeniable. So yeah, okay, let's say they do have files, whatnot. Okay, so the binary question is A, disclose it, or B, sit on it. The reality of the situation comes down to one word: consequence. Okay? The consequences of me, Mr. Government, whatever you want to, the man in black, whatever you want to call it, evil, good, whatever. The consequences are both psychological, commercial, religious. There are some ramifications. There are some consequences that could just turn things on its head should you push button A. Now, button B is zip the lip, shut the hell up, say nothing. What are the consequences of that? Now, you're the guy. You are the head of the Department of the Interior. You know everything. You know it all. Okay. Your job is to decide what should become public knowledge and what should not. Given those parameters and the consequences that go with the decision that you, not me, not some man in black, not some Nazi, whatever. Okay. Just the guy he had the resume, he got the job, he's qualified. Okay. But you have the onus put on you to make the call. Do you throw it out there and upset the apple cart, logging industry, recreational industry, religious affiliate, cultural, all the things that go with that? Or do you push button B, you take the blue pill and shut the hell up?
Yep.
What are those consequences?
Yep.
You want to know what those consequences are?
Yeah,
exactly.
Rich, okay. You got something?
So
we got to tie this off.
You just can't put it in. You can't just say it's some sort of a conniving, conspiratorial bullshit. It's a matter of pragmatism. It's a matter of what is best. And Rich, if you were in that position, you'd probably flip over that apple cart and say, let the dogs of war fly, where somebody else might say, you know what, it's going to come out eventually, but for now, let it ride, because we don't need this shit right now.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think it's pretty simple, actually. The controlling entity, really all that it cares about is narrative control. It only controls, it cares that it controls what you think, right? Because
doesn't control nothing.
The whole basis of the whole thing is that you stay engaged in the system, in the process, right? And you're not really aware of other things around you that might interfere with your ability to continue. And I think that the reason why that they do have disclosure related to UAPs, UFOs, ETs, and things of this nature, because they can more readily control that narrative in the information and how it comes out, because it relates to already ongoing psyops that have been going on for a long time, and that narrative is already spun. But when it comes to the Bigfoot phenomena, you have a whole nother thing entirely, that you start disclosing into this phenomena, and what you start doing is expanding awareness, and you start showing people things that they were previously not aware of at all, right? And it starts to force them to view their world and their existence and everything slightly differently than they did before. And it starts to jeopardize that system. It starts to jeopardize that 40-hour a week work week, and that quest for money, and that competition against each other, and that greed and all these other things. And it may be that this whole Bigfoot phenomenon in particular is going to open the door and the window into an entirely new reality, really, right? And an awareness of a world and an environment that is completely different than what we think it is now, right? And that's what they're trying to prevent by not disclosing it, right? Because they can't control that Bigfoot narrative, because if they do disclose that they do exist, then they're going to have to answer a whole lot of questions related to
Keep saying they and their and them, and I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about the banking.
Talk about the Rothschilds and
I'm not saying
the
that
bourgeois.
I'm saying that
the cabal, the
Democrats.
How much time?
No.
How much time do we have left, Matthew?
Not a lot, Ron. We're gonna tie this off because we certainly don't want to be political.
Political.
There are right. You can't really talk about this stuff without being political, because it's politics that's tying this stuff up. Because Rich has touched on, and I think Todd touched on the timber issue of what are you going to do when you go and log the habitats those things live in. So I'm going to just throw this at you before we go. If they were to come out tomorrow and say Bigfoot exists, aliens exist, I think that the interest in them would drop down to zero. Bigfoot is a
probably right.
multi-billion dollar a year industry, and it's that, and so is the alien thing. All these people, but if
where's all that money?
Wrong.
But if they were to come out and say, yeah, they exist, I think it would all drop off. I think people would go, okay, what's next? What's the new mystery? So you don't agree with that?
Oh, I mean, potentially, but also, it's going to create a whole lot more questions. That's the thing. And then the question is, why hasn't it been disclosed? Because it's not that there hasn't been an awareness of it. It's not that it hasn't been discovered. This thing's been discovered for thousands of years. It's all over the place, right? There's evidence everywhere that these things have been known about. So it's just more recently that it's not being officially acknowledged. That's the only difference from past until present.
Okay, so here's just one more what if, or I don't even know what the proper term is, but if they acknowledge Bigfoot, they got to go down to the Smithsonian and drag out all those 8, 9, 10 foot tall skeletons that they say don't exist. And they have to say, oh, there's a whole branch of humanity that we know about, but we lied about for a long time because we just think you're too stupid and we didn't want to get people upset. And,
Matt, I told you not to drink the Kool-Aid.
But here's my final point, and you guys can talk about it all you want. I believe there is no admission of Bigfoot. There's no admission of extraterrestrial life, because both of those lead back to Christianity. They both lead back to religion, and that is the last thing that that the people,
That's
the powers,
the third rail
that want to happen. They don't want people saying, "Oh, well, there's some religious aspect to these aliens," even though it's in the birth of Jesus. That there was a star, a ship that followed, the guided people to Jesus's birth. They don't want that, and I don't think they want people to think that there are other branches of humanity that are our cousins. So, because it will all lead back to religion.
I would like to cash my reality check at this point.
All right.
And that is this, okay? There is nothing you, I, Rich, Ron, Roger, Bob, fill in the blank, can do. Nothing we can do. Let's pretend there's a huge government conspiracy to hide the truth. Okay. There's nothing, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, there's nothing that will prevent the inevitability, keyword inevitability, that the existence of this species is in fact a viable species, that in fact it exists. Correct? Yes, no, and don't go on. Just raise your hand. Is it or is it not? Is it or is it not inevitable? And it might not be in your lifetime or mine. Is it not inevitable that this species will be officially recognized? And anybody? Okay, whatever. Okay, so
I agree.
Okay, so that being a given, then unless you're willing to suggest that there's a man in black, or to be, politically correct pronouns, he, she, it, whatever, that there's a person in black sitting behind every tree and every rock in every forest, in every setting, that is going to be on hand in that moment, in that situation where one is either shot, God forbid, hopefully accidentally if it does happen, or one's hit by a log truck or a freaking, Subaru, God save the Subaru. But if it happens, it's going to happen. And when it happens, it's going to happen. And there is not going to be any referee, any government entity, any regulatory body there on that scene at that moment in that time that is going to be able to jump out and say, dibs, this never happened. You go home. We got this, and drag the body off, and the game's over. And then we go right back to where we're at. The bottom line is it will happen. It's going to happen. We all said it's inevitable. And you can come up with all the conspiracy theories in the world you want, but unless you're willing to suggest that there is a man in black or a person in black or whatever, or white or whatever, trying to be, DEI,
correct,
that there's somebody right there on the spot when that moment happens, when some redneck hunter shoots one of these things and decides to bring it out, that there's going to be some form of government interference that keeps it from getting out to the public, then game over. Okay. So let's quit talking in these terms. Let's quit talking about this suggestion that the government sitting on this is the end all be all, that they are going to actually have control over any and every situation that may come up. Every contingency is not even possible. Okay. It's not. So when it happens,
they would try for a while, just like they tried the lights of Phoenix, the Phoenix lights, all that stuff. They've been doing this for years, Todd. They've been covering up behind it.
Ron, if you go out tonight, and you're driving your four-wheel drive and a Bigfoot steps out in front of you and you hit it with the truck, are you going to dial, I don't know, what is it, 711 for Bigfoot? I don't know. But are you going to dial them and say, come and get it real quick because I can't let this get out to the public? Or are you going to put it in the back of your truck and...
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? Why doesn't it matter?
Because it's going to matter what I do, because if the government wants to try, they're going to take care of the police department. They're going to take care of anybody who wants to come out.
No. You took it to ABC News.
So what? They've shut it on the news all of a sudden.
USA. You think they're going to start firing missiles at ABC?
You don't even know how many times that's probably already happened. It's just you don't know how much is covered up. I got one thing to say before this night's over.
Do you know that?
Oh, it's never going to be over, Ron.
Doctor,
this is a perpetual podcast.
Do you know Dr. Richard Greenwell and I had a a memorandum of understanding as to what we would do in the event we have one of these things. And we had a university already lined up in Arizona that was going to take this body and keep it from the government, keep it from the public until such time as it was completely dissected and analyzed, delivered in a refrigerated truck. You don't know that? I can
Good
show
luck
you the
with that.
paperwork. I have it. Oh,
I don't
and
mean
what's
the
going to happen?
paperwork.
All right, then.
Is there like some Bigfoot satellite out there that's going to go, ooh, 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 oh, we got a Bigfoot in a truck, a refrigerated truck? No, come on, guys. Let's get
You got
real.
75% of
Now
people
we're-
who aren't going to believe it no matter what. So
Get
Now
there.
we're
real.
out there. All right, you guys, we need to tie
Anyway.
this off. This is
I agree.
getting out of hand.
I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, my poor wife hasn't even had dinner yet. Yes,
No, you're
yes,
getting
Rich.
hangry.
No,
That's
I'm saying we'll talk later. I got to go.
Okay. Yeah, go.
Okay.
You guys, I really
Yeah.
appreciate you being on the podcast. This is really an honor. Ron, can you guys very quickly, you have anything you want to say before you go? What's up next for you, or anything interesting? Books?
Well, I'm doing these podcasts. I did some filming yesterday. Yeah, all right. There's a lot of things I could say, but it just takes too much time. I got different conferences coming up I'm trying to stay mostly on the West Coast now. I left North Carolina, and I'm going to try to do what I can drive to. I don't like commercial traveling like I've been doing. So I'm in my 80s now, and still upright and still living. And that's what I think people should tune into. Not our lives, not Todd's, not Rich's, not mine, not yours, Matthew, but what their life's all about and what this could mean. This Bigfoot thing. Who are they? That's what everyone wants to know. How come we haven't found bones? How come none of that happens? Because these things are a step above us as far as ethereal parts. They know what happens.
We're a step behind them.
Yeah. Well, if they're a step ahead of us, that puts us a step behind them.
Yeah.
Anyway, understanding but you only do that through research, through looking and reading, studying, and getting your head in there and looking at it. Because that's what I've been doing for the last several years, several decades actually. And people need to realize just how important we are as a human species, and how we're screwing up this planet with our warring tactics and all. And once you realize where we came from and what we're doing here and why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing here, and I think I've got the dots together for myself anyway, but people got to find their own dots, put their own picture together and stay tuned in to different people talking about it and just put the dots together for yourself, but do your research. Like I said on this film yesterday, I said, treat your head, your brain it's all been conditioned, but you got to treat it like it's a parachute. Jump out of an airplane, the parachute has to open or it's no good. So you got to open your mind up to understand stuff. You got to get into what's really taking place. We've been trained in Newtonian physics from 1687. And here, quantum physics was only a little over 100 years old. And yet it's modern science, and people don't seem to want to delve into that because they don't think they can understand it, but they can understand it. And they need to understand what's really going on. And everything from the micro to the macro works under the laws of quantum physics. So not just the micro world. We see that in our cell phones, microwave ovens, and all kinds of technology out there using quantum physics. But it works through the universe, according to Dr. Stephen Breyer at West Texas A&M. Everything works under the laws of that. It takes both of them together to have pure perception. That's Edgar Mitchell said that. You just gotta open your minds. That's all I got to say. So there.
Well, thank you, Ron.
Thank you for having me on. Todd, I'll see you next time.
Todd, we'll let you go last, Rich, because Todd's going to be as brief as he can.
So I tend to follow Occam's razor, which is the simplest answer, is more than likely the correct one. I agree with Ron. There's a lot of things about these things we don't understand, and unfortunately, there's really three lanes you can take when it comes to this. You can take it to the point where I don't understand it, therefore it has to be paranormal or supernatural. And I doubt very many people realize the definition of those words. But if they do, they would realize that those words represent a snapshot in time, and the admission that we currently don't have the technology or the academic um, uh, information to explain them. Then you can go way to the other side, because we love to be polarized, we humans, and throw it into another non-explainable, again, category of, we can over technologicalize it, if that's even a word. I may have just invented a word, over technologicalized it, but we can take it and throw it into this category of quantum physics. No offense, Ron, but again, is almost the same definition. It's physics, it's science that we don't understand, or we can all bring it back to the middle and try to simplify it. And what I've been trying to do over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, is bridge the gap between science and the paranormal. Because I have friends in both camps, and that these camps seem to be very divided. It's black and white. And what I've been trying to do is try to look at these folks over here in the paranormal supernatural camp and go, I've spoke to you about it. I've listened to you. I understand just in talking with you how passionate you are and how sincere you are. And I don't doubt for a minute you had an experience, but allow me the opportunity to try to explain, maybe redefine what you experienced in terms of science, to try to get you to maybe get away from the tendency to I hate the word exaggerate, but to try to address it in your own way, as, oh, I don't get it, so it's easy for me to put it in the paranormal extraterrestrial bucket, because then I don't have to explain it. And on the other end, you can say, well, I'm going to put it in the quantum physics, and they're the same bucket. Be honest with you. The thing is, it's easy to embellish something that you've experienced. I did, say, I don't understand it, so I have to embellish it a little bit for maybe get you to understand it. But I think the truth lies in the middle, and I think we can maybe bridge that gap between science, quantum physics, extraterrestrial, supernatural, paranormal. Just try to find a middle ground to explain what we all believe is the truth. We all have, a lot of us have seen this. Too many people have seen this to just simply, it's more unbelievable that 10,000, 20,000 people are all mistaken than it is to believe that this thing exists, that this species exists. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And you could have 10,000 reports, 9,999 of them can be wrong, but if one of them's right, game's over, right? So let's try to find a middle ground. That's where I'm coming from. Let's try to meet in the middle.
I gotta go.
Well, okay. Well, could we just let Rich say one thing real quick before?
I think Rich left.
Okay, this is all I want to say.
Oh, no.
2026, prepare for your mind to be blown.
Absolutely, Rich. I agree with you 100%.
Right, because that's what we need to do, because it's going to be a brand new world.
Monetary system's going to collapse.
All right. Well, you guys, I really appreciate you being on the show. Ron's got to go. Todd's got to go. Rich has got to go.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So that was our podcast. I actually saw Bigfoot and some of the other issues that are happening in the Bigfoot and paranormal world now. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. As you can see, our guests wanted to continue to talk and to put in their information and to put in their opinions about where the Bigfoot world is going. But we ran out of time and we had to cut it short. So with that, I'm sorry about the very end of that podcast, but sometimes that's just how it goes. That's why we always say at Encounters USA, when you're out with Todd Neiss, Ron Morehead, or Rich Germeau, or even Encounters USA, always watch your back.